Hey there YouTube, it's Montana with Sawyer's Garage here today. Today I've got a little different video here. What I'm actually going to be doing is installing a Tesla screen radio into my 2010 Yukon XL Denali. You can see that right here. It's kind of still in the packaging. I'm not quite ready to open it up yet. But we're going to get that installed. I'm actually over in my parents' garage today because they have concrete floors and it's a little more insulated. It's going to make it a little nicer because it's probably about 30 degrees out today. It just snowed a day or two ago. Typical Wyoming things. So yeah, we're going to get after it. Alright, so here's my very dirty GMC Yukon XL Denali. It is winter time in Wyoming, so we're not quite out of the woods yet here. I was just gonna do an overview of why I decided, get rid of that annoying chimer, to want to replace my stock radio. A couple different reasons really. One, holy cow, I will have to clean that up later. Ooh, French fry. Okay, anyways, why I want to replace the stock radio, because it does, being the Denali package, it does have the touchscreen radio, GPS, maps, all that fun stuff. I bought this vehicle used a couple months ago. And so I actually, it has some issues with it. One of the issues that I have that was kind of one of the main things that I wanted was navigation. And the issue I have is it says the disc installed is not a map DVD. Insert map disc. And it'll flip out. And it'll sit there. And it'll spit you out a genuine OEM GM map disc that replaced the original OEM GM map disc that was in here, because I thought, well, maybe the disc got corrupted, something like that. This one, my parents have a very similar vehicle, a couple years older. This disc actually came out of their Yukon, and it worked in their Yukon just fine. Does not work in mine. Oop, you're hearing snow fall off the car. And it does not read it. So that tells me there's something wrong with that disc reader behind there that reads that navigation CD. The other issue with this navigation system at this point is the fact that the maps are super outdated and they don't make updates for them anymore. So you are screwed with all the controls, all the maps that it has. You can't get any updates, and we all know that road construction hasn't stopped in the last 5-10 years. Therefore, another good reason to update. Newer radios don't have that issue, mainly because they have like Apple CarPlay and they have Wi-Fi hookups. You can connect to the internet, download updates on them, things like that. That really does help keep them from getting outdated, or at least outdated as fast. All technology will get outdated over time. So obviously it's sitting here saying, "Oh great, battery voltage low." Yeah, it's only been on for a few minutes. All right. But that's one of the main reasons why I really wanted a touchscreen radio, was because I wanted GPS maps. And when I bought it, that didn't work. I thought, okay, maybe a bad disc, order a new disc. New disc didn't work. Swapped the disc from my parents' vehicle into mine. That disc didn't work in mine, but worked in theirs. All the other discs also worked in their Yukon. So I just determined at that point, something internal to the radio. I tried to look up information, see if there's somebody out there who's fixing them. There was not. So therefore, I just kind of decided, well, this is not worth my time messing around with it. So I've just been dealing with it the last several months that I've had the car. So basically, this new radio is going to take up this entire area that comes all the way from up here where the CD slot is, all the way down here to the bottom. So it's going to take all these controls and it's going to put them onto this new, this is essentially an Android tablet. They call it a Tesla screen radio because it mimics the full dash screen radio of the Teslas. So that's kind of my reasons for wanting to replace it. So now I'm going to go ahead and get started. Alright, one of the first things we're going to do is get all this stuff out, clip that back. I won't actually be keeping any of these controls. Well, I won't be reusing them. I'm probably going to hang on to everything just in case this radio turns out to not be what it's described to be, which is a very real possibility. That way I can always resort back to this setup because at least it does function as a radio. I am going to lose a couple features going to this newer radio. I will no longer be able to use the rear DVD player, which I've honestly only used once. So not really that big a deal to me yet. Now I can get an aftermarket DVD player via USB to hook in so I can display DVDs on this. I assume I can also get DVD monitors for the back in order to display it in the back as well. But that I haven't really looked into that too much. But I am going to be losing these outlets, which is kind of a bummer. But it does come with some USB outlets, so I will have to see what I can do to modify that. But I just got a tiny little screwdriver. This probably isn't the right tool for this. But I'm going to try to get in behind here, because this is just clipped in. Maybe. Alright, so I don't know if this is going to help me too much. It's kind of a clip pry tool. My same little pocket screwdriver, and I found another little pocket screwdriver. Okay, will be useful. There we go. That one left. Alright, so what you're pulling out are these little gold clips. They just clip in there. You'll see on this whole piece I end up missing that one and that one. They are still in there. I'm going to set this out of the way. We're actually going to need these clips in a future step, so we will need to retrieve them. Alright, those are now out. What I am going to have to do next is get in here, and there's a screw there, screw down there, a screw down there, the same matching screws on the other side. We're going to get those pulled out and get this assembly out and see what we get. Alright, go ahead and unscrew these. Just end up using, this is just like a 1/4 inch bit driver, just 1/4 inch bit goes right on it. These screws are 7mm, which is kind of a weird size. This is one of those where it kind of benefits buying one of those, like, you know, 100 and something piece mechanics toolkits, because they get you a lot of these smaller sizes. Like, you're just buying a socket rail. Typically you're not going to get maybe a size this low. You can find a standard equivalent. So instead of 7mm, it'll be like, 11/32. I don't, that's not correct, but it'll be something like that. You'll find kind of an oddball size that might work for these 7mm. But 7mm is what it should be. I'm almost positive from the factory, unless I've got it backwards. But either way, You don't want to go too loose. You might risk stripping out the screws. They're pretty low torque, so that really shouldn't be an issue. But it's always a potential, so just know that going into it. I initially thought there was just 3 screws, but actually there's going to be 4 screws that I want to take out. There is 2 more screws here and here. I don't believe we're going to need to touch those. Look out, make sure all the screws are the same size. Sometimes you'll find some screws a little longer or shorter in certain spots. And that's just a general thing. I just looked at these 4 and they're all the exact same, which makes it nice and easy. So I can pretty much set these screws in a pile together and not have to worry about remembering all of them. This is one of those jobs where I should have remembered to bring my Milwaukee N12 impact over with me. And this would make this about a 5-second job. Moving the screws, that's okay. Sometimes it's nice doing a job with minimal tools just to remember how good you got it. Alright, now everything should be unbolted. These things should be willing. Just make sure you can see that. Just kind of fall right on out of here. Now they're no longer bolted up. Those 2 and the radio is going to be more of a slide out deal. So I'm going to go ahead and get all these connections disconnected and get these units pulled out. These ones kind of have this little tab right there. If you have a screwdriver, you can just either push in on the tab, or if you're not too worried about breaking things, you can kind of push in from up top into the connector a little bit. Sometimes you'll do that, you'll bust this little piece of plastic out. In this case, it's not really too big a deal because I'm actually not going to be reusing this, but just something to keep in mind. Alright, that is it. Some of those connectors kind of fought me a little bit, but I did finally get them. Just had to figure out how those little connectors are actually hooked in there. So now I'm left with a bit of a mess here. Let's go ahead and go back to the bench and let's get the new radio set up. Alright, so I'm going to use this metal workshop table. Only issue is obviously I want to keep my radio nice clean shape. So I've got some of these clean shop rags. I'm just going to lay out on the table here. Kind of give myself a little bit of a clean surface to work with. Here I've already kind of partially pulled this out of the box. Just going to remove some of this styrofoam. And what I'm going to be left with here is going to be my new radio. As you can see, this whole screen here is a giant tablet. It does have, you might not be able to see it very well from this angle, it does have its own microphone for hands-free audio and RST, which the acronym is currently eluding me as to what it means, so I apologize. But what I'm going to do, I'm also going to set it on this plastic. We're going to set the radio down like that. Kind of show you what's going on here. The back of this radio's got plugins. It is fused, 15 amp fuse, USB GPS antenna, and our factory GPS antenna is going to work for that, which is going to be awesome because they did ship me. So it comes with all these harnesses, and in here was, well, maybe I didn't bring it. Anyways, it comes with a new GPS harness. So, shouldn't need it. Has the same connector that the factory one has. radio, antenna connector, USBs. That's going to be for my foot controls, things like that. It does have this plate, which is going to have to come off because I'm going to be modifying this. The control board on this is going to bolt up to here, utilizing these screws. So I'm going to go ahead and get those pulled, and I'll be right back. This looks like it's going to be a, oh, actually these are Torx Plus, but a T10. I didn't even realize these were Torx Plus. Let me make sure. It felt like it bit in. Yeah. You normally wouldn't have any use for a Torx Plus socket. We ended up having to buy a kit probably several years back now, pulling a bell housing off of a 2000 Silverado transmission, 4L60E for those in the know. And once you got them, you got them. You know, that's what happens with tools. You start with a little bit, and as projects come up, you buy the tool you need. And that project's came and gone. You got the tool, you maybe never ever use it again. Maybe use it all the time. Not sure, you know. And that's how the hoarding begins. Alright, so those 4 screws are out. Gotta figure out. It looks like there might be little tabs. So I'm gonna start trying to separate those. Okay. There are actually just 2 tabs. One right there, one right there. It pulled the top off. Be careful because all these buttons, well, maybe not. But those buttons could hypothetically pop out. Except they're probably mounted in there. I wonder if those are repairable, because a lot of these suffer from that typical GM issue where the buttons wear out and this turns blue, that one turns red, and these turn green. Alright, next we're left with 2 pieces here. This right here is the display, the LCD display. And it does have this connector pin right here. We need to go ahead and remove that connector pin. So sometimes you can just lightly get in there with your fingers. They typically aren't connected in there too hard. Kind of wiggle it back and forth. Just be careful, you don't want to break it. This piece you will not need, as that is what the screen is going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and set it back into place. This back piece, this is what you're going to keep. This connector is going to go to this white connector right here, and then these will screw in. So let me go ahead and remove these standoff screws. You always make sure they're all the same size. Screws, these can take standoff on them, but you can put the same size. Alright, so this is going to, label and everything should still be up forward, just like you would expect it to be. I just want to make sure that this connector is going to connect in the way I want it to. So we're going to kind of have to bend it. It looks like bend it back the other way a little bit. No, actually, I think it's going to get kind of like that. And you can't really see what I'm doing. But essentially I'm going to snap this connector into that one. You just kind of have to eyeball it, make sure you put it in the right way. Don't force it if it doesn't look like it's going to go, which actually it doesn't. I'll roll it back the way that it wanted to line up. And wouldn't you know it, it goes in. I'm just going to use a little screwdriver just to apply light pressure to ensure it's fully seated. And it is. Good deal. So that was really simple. Just going to line this up with my holes. I'm going to start trying to set some screws in here. Alright, so that is all on. Next, I'm going to try to go ahead and make heads and tails of some of these connectors and determine what I'm going to need, what I won't need. Alright, so I don't actually have any, from the factory, they're not using any sort of RCA connections at this point. So I'm not going to worry about putting any in at this point to kind of simplify things. Because all these are just different RCA connections that'll do different things. Subwoofer, RCA front right, right left, yeah, rear left. The one that you do want to use is going to be this one because it comes with the factory adapter for the factory backup camera, and it is labeled camera, so you are definitely going to want that one hooked in. Here's that factory this was the GPS antenna that came with it. I guess I did bring it in. It does appear that it's magnetic, not very strong magnetic, but it is magnetic. I don't believe I'm going to need to use it because I believe that's the factory connection, so that'll work good. Alright, so next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and pop all of these clips off and just attach them to my new bezel. Alright, so one more thing that I actually left at my house, I just had to run home and grab real quick. I did go ahead and swap all these clips over. Pretty self-explanatory. Just pop the old ones off, put the new ones on. These are the brackets that are going to go into the holes of the screws that I took out earlier. And then that'll also help snap these back in. So I'm going to go ahead and take this whole assembly back into the car. I'm going to install these brackets and plug everything in. Alright, so we got these brackets. I gotta figure out how they were supposed to go. That's not right. Maybe that looks right. So they've got these little alignment pins, and you can see that. That when you get it right, that pin is going to go into this hole that's just below there. Get that connector out of the way. We'll just sit in there like that. Now all my holes are going to line up, and it's going to give me my place to connect those connectors back in, because otherwise we would not have that place, because that got removed with the old radios. Just keep my twist around. So I went home, I could grab my Milwaukee in12 cordless impact. Instead, I definitely did not, because I am smart. Alright, so in figuring out how I want to route my USBs, I actually determined that the factory USB cable that's in the glove box, that connector is right down there. So I am going to be able to reuse that factory connection in my center console, is what I meant. But what I need to be able to do is fish this wire. Get the camera set back down here. From within this console area up to behind the radio, which right now it's not really a good spot to do so. But what I'm going to do is just drill a hole right here. And I'm going to be able to just run my connector from up underneath up to that hole. So hopefully it will work the way I want it to. It's just plastic, so Solution I came up with is some wire, some automotive wire, and some electrical tape. So let me try to fish this through the hole backwards here. There. And now I'm going to overlap them a couple inches. And this is where you start taping. I always try when I tape up the end, I try to make it kind of cone shaped. That'll help it hopefully find the hole and come out the other side. You also want to make sure you tape it real good because you don't want to put strain on that connector end because you may pull the wires out of that connector. There we go. Perfect. That worked. I had to elongate that hole out a little more. I couldn't find a bigger drill bit right off the bat, so I just kind of took it and tried to wallow that hole out. Is on this old connector here. It had this piece which clipped both sides of this USB connector together to keep it from coming apart going down the road. I'm just going to take some black tape and tape this up together, and then I'm going to clip that back into its hold, and we should be good. Alright, so in order to fish that through, I went ahead and I had actually unplugged everything to gain some room, so I got to hook it all back up. Plus, it did come with an antenna adapter to go from the factory GM antenna over to a more standard aftermarket antenna. So we will be using that as well. Alright, so it looks like what I'm left with unplugged is this, which was for the factory USB that runs into the center console. I do have a brown connector. I don't know what it does off the top of my head. It currently appears to be disconnected, and I don't see... Oh, just kidding. Look a little harder. Say that I don't like the fact that there's a factory plug not plugged in. Okay, so I still got that connector, and then I've got these two, like I said earlier, that were for the cigarette lighters, which aren't going to be used for the time being. And then I do still have to clip in the GPS antenna, which I will do now. Alright, now the hard part. Trying to fit everything in here. Now before we get too far, let's actually turn it on. Alright, so it's supposed to be a fast boot. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me turn my Bluetooth on. Hey YouTube, this is Sawyer's Garage back again. I didn't really like the way that my footage kind of wrapped up Sunday when I was filming it. So I kind of decided to come out here and film a little more video on the radio itself, and maybe kind of go over some of the features that it has that I think are cool, and maybe some of the cons that I'm having with it, and just kind of my overall opinion so far. Today is Tuesday evening. I'll be honest, I really don't get to drive this vehicle much as I have my own work truck, and my wife takes this thing to work every day. She doesn't have to go very far, so I haven't really had a whole lot of use out of it yet, like on a road trip or something where I can really benefit from the features. But I was just going to show you kind of what I've got going on. So this is like the home screen. This is essentially an Android tablet. It comes default with what I believe is a GMC Acadia, which is interesting because the GMC Acadia doesn't even use the same type of radio as the GMC Yukon. I'm almost positive. Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought they had a different center dash layout. They don't have by default a GMC Yukon in their setup. So I can change that, they claim. I haven't actually done it yet, but I have to go and download an image to be able to put that as a background. Now, if I didn't care that it was a GMC anything and I wanted a picture of a sunset or whatever I decided to put back there, a picture of my dog, I could do that, I believe. Just have to get that photo, whether I download it off the internet, upload it to something and download it off the internet through the tablet, or what have you. So as far as it goes, it is kind of neat. Right on this home screen here, it shows you the calendar. So really small though, so you kind of got to look at it, but it does show you that today is the 7th. It doesn't tell you what month you're in, which is kind of odd, which isn't a huge deal because it does tell you the month you're in right there, but it also tells you the date. But you can scroll it, right? And so now I'm technically in a different month, last month, but it doesn't tell you what month you're in, so hopefully you don't forget where you scrolled to. Otherwise, like, see, I don't know what just happened. Now I'm not, maybe I went, oh, there we go. Alright, now we're back to April. So, I mean, it's kind of neat that that's there, but just something to kind of keep in mind. Lower half, you can put different things here. We've got the radio on there right now, jamming some tunes. At the bottom of the screen, this stays here. Sorry, at the bottom of the screen, this stays here constant. This is actually all of your HVAC controls. You get your temperature, and actually there's an on-screen volume control as well. That's always there. You have a home button over here, and then a go back button, which I didn't realize was there when I was trying to set all this up, and I had to keep going through menus. I was getting really frustrated. But now that I know that exists, it's much better. But basically, like, if you want to up a temperature, you can hit that. It will make changes from down here, but anytime you touch any of these controls, it automatically pops the screen up. It kind of, I don't know if you can see that, it splits screens in half. I think you can change that to where it takes the whole screen if you wanted to. Given this control, I don't see the need to, but you tap this, I can hit the plus button, and my fan speed does increase. I can minus it back down. I do have, obviously, for some reason these go to 91. The factory stops at 90. How accurate it is, I honestly couldn't tell you. Right now these two are linked together, but if you do passenger, it should allow the passenger to set their own temperature that is different from the driver, and then as well with rear / auxiliary, which that should, and I haven't actually sat back there to verify, that should allow the passengers to control their rear controls. So otherwise, I don't really care for auto very much. We'll turn that off. Auto does not want to turn off. It should. Okay, yeah, if I manually adjust my fan speed again, it'll kick off. Kind of like the factory one, except the factory one you can also hit auto and it'd kick off as well. So, pretty simple there. You can turn that off. You do have your defrost. I do have my rear defrost, things like that. So that's easy enough. You can control where the air hits you, I think. No, I'm not. Interesting. Well, see, there's still some things that I'm planning. Oh, there we go. Okay, if you hit this guy, it'll cycle through all your different choices. Floor, head on, just head on, and defrost, which is interesting because on the factory one you can only get floor and defrost, I believe. So I don't know if that actually works. My guess is it's probably just a programming error. But anyways, that actually works pretty sweet. It's really cool, and you saw in the video where I take that stock assembly and you essentially take the circuit board out of it and you plug it into the back of this unit. How they interface that, I think, is awesome, and I do give them props for that. As far as like the features of this, there is navigations, which is like Google Maps. Basically what I would do is I would take my phone and I would use it as a hotspot. So it does use my data, but I would use it as a hotspot. I would then connect to the internet with this, and I'm gonna go ahead and hop off of that. I would connect to the internet with it, and then I can use this like a standard tablet at home that's connected to the internet with my phone, you know, sitting on the charger, sitting on the console, whatever. So I do think that's pretty cool. You do have radio, which is what it's on right now. You can half screen radio, and when you do that, it will show you vehicle RPM as it's sitting here running, and it will tell you mile per hour as you're going down the road. Once more, pops up with this sweet GMC Acadia, which is not the right vehicle. This radio, one thing that I did find really cool is it automatically found my factory steering wheel controls. So I'm hitting the factory button. Turn that down before I get hit with copyright infringement. It automatically picked that up. All these buttons, like I just hit the kind of the shift through button, and you'll see it goes until it finds stations, which I think is pretty cool. That it automatically found those buttons. I haven't tried the phone pairing button or anything. I actually haven't tried to make a phone call with this yet. I haven't really been in it long enough to need to do so. But other than that, there is a music app, which it came with some music already on it. So I'm not even sure that's fire starter. I don't know. Bluetooth does work good. I can hook up Bluetooth to my phone, play music that way. I can stream like Pandora, Spotify, YouTube, whatever you want. You can play music that way. So that's pretty sweet. It does have a console option. And under the console option, you're going to see some familiar settings. This being a Denali, and honestly, most of them anymore have the pedal adjustments. So I can move my pedals forward or backwards. That does work. It does have park assist, where you can turn it off. And then it also has the traction control button where you can turn that off as well. I don't know if it does StabiliTrak. I'm going to see if it pops up. Because on the factory one, you press and you long hold to disable everything. No, just this traction control off. So I don't know if it turns off StabiliTrak yet. Most climates, it's probably not a huge deal, but I live where it snows a lot. Sometimes, I live down a dirt road. It snows pretty good. And I just want all of that crap turned off so it's just me in the car getting to my house. So, not a huge deal. I'll have to play around with that. It is April, so we're almost out of the woods for snowfall, so I may not actually be able to test that out for quite some time, but just know that's there. This does also give you some other options to change, like amplifier settings, bass, middle, treble, balance, front and rear. There's number values here, but I don't know what they actually, what they coordinate to, because balance, front and rear, I've adjusted that down to 0, and I've spent this much time going all the way up to 100. It doesn't make a difference, which is going to lead into one of my issues with this radio. I'm going to go over here in a few minutes. It does have a video tab where it does come with a movie trailer pre-programmed, which I'm going to go ahead and turn off so I don't get copyright issues. But do know that I believe you can hook up USB flash drive with movies on it, USB DVD players, and you can watch DVDs on this. And because of the type of tablet it is, I'm almost positive you can watch a movie while you're driving down the road. Not that I recommend it, but I do think it is possible. I haven't attempted it, but it does seem to work. Bluetooth pops up, kind of gives you the passcode and everything. Phone book, Bluetooth device, OBD pair record, because you can get a Bluetooth OBD2 reader, and you can have this thing pull trouble codes on your car, which actually is pretty sweet. There's a Bluetooth music tab, which again would pull Bluetooth off your phone. There is at the top here, There's a phone link, which I don't have my phone plugged in right now, but if I did, my phone screen would pop up on this screen, which I thought was pretty neat, except due to the way that my phone screen lays out in this one, it actually displays really kind of awkwardly down the screen, and really isn't that useful. The other thing that I guess maybe I thought it would be is that you'd be able to control the phone screen from this screen. No, it just shows you what's on the screen. It does not allow you to control your phone. So just know that. It does have a customize option, which allows you to go in and customize different things and settings. Basically just takes you to settings. It does have an Explorer, which is just a web browser, obviously. Settings, which is basically where we're at. Apps, because this is an Android tablet. I can go to Google Play Store and I can download apps. So, I mean, I can download YouTube, things like that, and then I can literally just watch it straight from this device once I hook up to Wi-Fi or a hotspot. Bluetooth, music, again, has its own. There's a file manager. Haven't really messed with any of that. This Car Auto, this is supposed to be Apple CarPlay and Android. I'm not connected to the internet right now, so it's not going to go. And whatever the Android version is, I don't have an Android phone, so I probably will never test that out. But the issue I have is it says inactivated. Click to activate, and it's not going to go because I'm not connected to the internet right now. But when I click on that, click to activate, it gives me a QR code, and I'm not 100% sure what I'm supposed to do with it because the instructions just say download their app. But I can't find their app anywhere, so it seems a little redundant that they would have me try to do something that apparently doesn't exist. So that's one thing that I'm going to get a hold of the Phoenix Automotive, which is the company that sells this kit, and see if that's something they can help me with. But other than that, kind of back to the beginning there, and that's kind of an overview of the radio as a whole, and I do think it has good potential. But some of the downfalls, one thing that I had mentioned before, when I was playing the radio, is that I've only got music out of my front two speakers. I have no music going to the Denali Bose center center speaker that's on the dash. I've got no music going to the tweeters up on the pillars, and I have zero music going to the rear speakers, which, you know, if it's just me, I'm used to driving in my work truck where I don't really have any speakers that work in it anyways. It doesn't really bother me as much, but once, you know, I get family in here and we want to go road trip, it's going to get kind of annoying. So I don't know if that's a software issue or if that's a hardware issue. So I've also got to get a hold of Phoenix Automotive and see if they can help me out with that as well. So those are my two kind of flaws. One of the other things I did notice, this does have different brightness settings, which is pretty cool. Like when you're driving down the road at night, you can kind of turn it down. It does have a button up here you can hit just to black the screen out real quick, again, if you're driving at night. What I found is in bright daylight, you can't hardly see the screen. So that is kind of a problem with tablets, all tablets, that most automotive radios, they kind of have like a matte sheen over them, and that's why. It's to kind of help kick down on glare. So that is something to keep in mind. I do have a sunroof, never use it, so hopefully it won't be as big a deal, but time will tell. Oh, I will show you. Backup camera automatically integrates into it. Get pretty much the same view you had before. I guess there's a different types of backup camera, like how the video translates. It was already set to auto, and it just works. So I'm really not going to mess with it too much. So the backup camera does work, which is pretty cool. So it does tell you if a door is open, it pops up with an image of a vehicle that is not mine, but it does tell you that the door is open, which I do find cool as well. So there's definitely a couple issues with it. A couple cons, some bugs to be worked out for sure. Some of the major ones, obviously, I got to get music through all the speakers because that's kind of a deal breaker. And then the other one is I got to get the CarPlay, Android Auto linked and working because that's kind of a major feature as well, because I think that'll help as far as controlling my phone through the tablet and making that a little more seamless, because right now there's just a lot of menus to navigate, and I think I'll get used to it, but I would just like to kind of get it dialed in a little better. So if you have any questions about it, I will definitely let you know my experience. I'll do some update videos as time goes on, just to kind of let you guys know how it's doing. Has it been bricked yet? You know, is a thing a pile of trash? Don't buy it. I end up getting this radio with Apple CarPlay already added inside the unit versus a USB dongle that they sell somewhere around $550. I ordered it, so I think late January or sometime in February. It could be a little off. And I didn't get it till basically April, but there's a lot of it came from China, and there's a lot of things going on in China and the rest of the world right now, so I'm kind of giving them a pass on shipping time. That being said, read some of their comments on their Facebook posts, and you'll see that it seems to be a common theme. They'll tell people, yeah, most people receive it within like 5 to 10 business days. But everybody was pretty much like, yeah, it took me 4 weeks, took me 6 weeks, which was pretty close to my experience. So again, some of that I would contribute to virus, world events going on. But just know that it did take a while, to the point where I was questioning, do I make a dispute with my credit card company to get my money back and just cancel this order? But no, I just kind of let it be for a while, and it finally showed up. So let me get some more usage under it, and I will make an update video. Thanks, guys. Bye.